So we got to start. Of course, how do we not start here? Jamal, Sweet Dreams Hill, and new. So well-documented three-time champ, I remember the show, but Saturday night realized a far more important championship. Dude, I could do the whole show on this. You must have been thrilled for your boy. Let's go, Jamal. Talk to me, man. You had to enjoy watching him realize championship goal, baby.
Honestly, it was such a beautiful performance, and he shut up a lot of doubters, a lot of haters that would say, like you said, oh, he needs to win in one round. If he goes to the ground, it's going to be over. He's going to get mauled if it hits the ground. All Glover needs to do. And then you saw him get mounted. You saw him escape. For a guy like him, especially because I said I considered it a short notice. It was 6 weeks, especially for a 5-round fight. And coming off the holidays, like he had to put a lot of extra work in to get down to size, go all the way to Brazil, enemy territory. And it was one of his best performances ever. Like he showed up, he showed out. And to do that on that stage, you're the main event of the pay-per-view. You know, you have people swearing at you, giving you the middle finger as you're walking out. And he was just cool as a cucumber, chill, relaxed, man. It was epic. It was beautiful to watch.
Just unbelievable to see him, you know, even just as looking on the UFC homepage today, just seeing his face with the belt on his shoulder at the top of the ranking, seeing him ranked in the pound for pound rankings, which I can't get enough of. But, you know, for him, I mean, there's obviously a lot to talk about with the performance itself, but I love that last fight out, gets into the 4th round against Thiago Santos, goes to 5 full rounds here. That experience, man, as he moved forward, huge benefit you have to think for the confidence, for just knowing what he might need to get done in future spots where maybe he can't put people to sleep in the 1st round.
Yeah, man. You know, people took a lot from that Thiago Santos fight where they were like, oh, well, Thiago took him down. What do you think Glover's going to do? Yada, yada, yada. And to have a 3rd round like he did against Thiago, and he looked tired on the bench, and then come out in the 4th round and finish him. I think that kind of like sparked something in it where he's like, I could do that. I don't need to finish these guys in the 1st round. I could go to the 4th and 5th round. And to do it in this fight right here where his volume was crazy. Every single round it was like going up, going up, going up. And where most guys in that 5th round, if they're tired and they get mounted, they're just going to give up, hold up, something's going to come up. And he just never took his foot off the gas pedal. He was so smart with his distance, so smart with managing his energy, where he had a couple of times where he rocked Glover crazy and he didn't get wild with it. He stayed right there, stayed at the distance. All right, let me go back to the head kick again. Yep. It was so beautiful to see. Like you said, the confidence he's going to have from winning a fight like this so dominantly when Yuri, who you have some people saying, oh, well, Yuri didn't lose the belt. And Yuri went through a war with Glover where 30 seconds left in that fight, Glover was still considered the champion and Glover was still the man on top. And Jamal dominated him. Jamal didn't have one point in that fight where I was like, dang, Glover's about to win this. No, it was like, man, when are they going to stop this fight? I felt bad for Glover because I love Glover. Glover's one of the legends of the sport. And it hurt to see him, but you know, he went out on the shield. The last fight, retired in Brazil, is still a nice thing to see for him. But like Jamal, man, he's the man on the mountain right now. I don't think he's going to take him off. Yeah,
light heavyweight champion Jamal Sweet Dreams Hill. How'd it go, Mal Hill? How'd it go, kid? So quickly to spin it forward, I know there's a lot of information out there, and I'm not privy to any of it, but if I'm Ankalaev sitting at home, I understand Prochazka might be available in the cellar, but it's like, whoa, wait a minute, Ankalaev didn't necessarily lose a fight. Like, I would love to see him get an opportunity at some point. Am I on an island here?
No, I mean, the thing is, it's just the way the last fight ended. So if you're like the UFC, you can't give it to Ankalaev and pass up Jan, I think, because both those guys drew. I think you give those two a rematch and then see how that one goes. I'm fine with that. Yeah, you give that one a rematch, especially Jamal. He just fought right now. Probably wants to sit down, enjoy his title for a little bit, have some time with the family. Yuri's talking about he wants to fight in July. I don't know if he's going to be able to come back that soon because I just want to know what the heck happened to his injury because they were saying it was the worst shoulder injury in history of shoulder injuries. But then looks like he doesn't have no sling on. He doesn't have nothing on. He's chilling. And I'm like, so are you injured or you're not injured? What's going on here?
I hear you, but I mean, these pro athletes, man, whether it's DeMar Hamlin, whether even Patrick Mahomes, that high ankle sprain looking pretty good right now. It's unbelievable, man. And I don't know, maybe there's something to that. You hear the worst injury anyone in the UFC has seen, a worst shoulder injury anyone's seen. And all of a sudden, who knows? But, you know, I don't put anything past some of you guys, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, we have a couple guys talking. You have Pereira talking now saying that, hey, I could move up to 205. Obviously, he's huge. It would be a huge fight, big storyline behind it with being Glover's student. So I see that, but I definitely want to see the rematch with him and Adesanya, and I don't know if he wants to keep bouncing back and forth, especially because he hasn't really defended the 185 belt yet. So I think a rematch with them, I think there's a lot of contenders at 205 that Jamal can fight right now where you don't have to bring up a 185 or like you said. Anthony Smith is still there too. I know that, his fight with Ankalaev ended with an injury, and, he's also one of the biggest names in the division. Him and Jamal were supposed to fight. There's still a storyline there where he weighed in as the backup guy. I know he missed weight. I was hearing that, he did take that fight on short notice, or he didn't know it was going to happen as be the backup for very short notice. So you got to cut a lot of weight, and you don't have that same motivation as if you actually have a fight. So I don't know really how hard he was pushing to make that weight. That sucks. But there's some people out there before Pereira, I think, that deserve it.
Either way, the fact that we're very likely going to get to see Jamal Hill in the U.S., making that walk as a champion.
Chicago, man. We got to bring him to Chicago.
Yeah, let's go.
We're raised in Chicago. We haven't had a Chicago card in how long, bro?
Seriously.
And Jamal's a guy, like I said, we were talking about him forever, saying that UFC needs to start promoting him, need to start pushing him. I think he's going to bring a different energy to that division now. That was, that division was every champion since John Jones was kind of like, either didn't speak English, didn't really have a personality, was only all about business. Jamal is hilarious on social media. He knows how to talk trash. He responded to Pereira. He's not afraid of anybody. I think that's going to give that division a lot more attention now.
I agree. Moving on to another champion that night, Brandon Moreno sort of closes the book on this rivalry. TKO, doctor's stoppage. Figueiredo going to move up to 135. Thrilled for Brandon Moreno. I know you picked him. So talk to me a little bit about the co-main event, another championship fight, UFC 283.
I mean, he solidified it. There was no more what ifs or who was the best in that division. Both of them had a title walking in, but I think Moreno proved that he's the best flyweight right now, better than Figueiredo. He came in with a better game plan, very smart, very strategic. He came out wrestling a lot earlier, and I think that probably shocked Figueiredo a little bit. And when you're not expecting something and somebody else does it, it drains your energy levels a little bit, kind of confuses you because you're thinking our last 3 fights have all been brawls. I know Moreno's been having some shots in his other fights, but he really didn't shoot until later in rounds. So when he comes out wrestling heavy first and he gets that early takedown, it's like Figueiredo's like, what the fudge? We didn't even throw any punches yet. What the heck's going on? So I think Moreno did a great job avoiding the low kick too. Figueiredo's calf kick, the other fights were killing him a lot. I think that's what hurt him a bunch of times. I think Moreno just came in way more poised too.
I was just going to go there. Yeah.
Too. When you're not coming in there with, remember I said, I think with the third fight, he had a different energy in the corner. I was like, bro, this don't look like Moreno. He's hyping himself up. And I'm like, bro, you're a more relaxed guy. You play with Legos, chill out. You don't have to be this angry guy. You're a fun guy. And I think that he came in this fight with that same type of mentality. He just dominated.
Couldn't be happier for the guy, man. I can't get enough.
It sucked that the fans were sitting there throwing stuff at him. Like, come on, guys. I understand, enemy territory and things like that, but it was fun how Moreno's just laughing it off. He's too nice of a guy.
Exactly. And out of there with his belt. So quite a night for a lot of guys, calling it the end of a world, world in Brazil. So beautiful tribute to Jose Aldo, obviously. Glover retires, Shogun. I remember the time when my brother John used to somewhat dread going to Brazil because it was so often and he was going from Vegas. But dude, he didn't want to leave and can't wait to go back. It was a really special night in a lot of ways. Even a guy like Shogun, who a lot of these new fans really, and I say new fans, young fans, a lot of you guys born in the 90s, or whatever, or I know it. So anyway, it was a great night to see all of that, especially Jose Aldo. That really touched me. Talk to me about the night, the finish for these 3 guys in Brazil.
Yeah, I mean, Jose Aldo is one of those guys I watched on the come up. He's the most dominant champion. I still think one of the best featherweight champions ever. I know he lost his belt to Max Holloway twice, but to be on a reign like that for 10 years of just pure dominance and to show that he's a 135 pounder this whole time. He's making weight at 135 so easily. So to be that dominant at 145 for that long and you're out of your weight class, his technique with his low kicks, everything. He was one of my favorite fighters ever to watch. His takedown defense, I think that people they don't understand how good he was with it, with his hips, with his movement. Everything was beautiful about him. And, it was cool to see him tearing up because you could tell that fighting meant a lot to him. He really put his whole heart into the sport. And to be in the Hall of Fame, it's a beautiful thing.
I love it.
For me, Shogun, I wasn't really in the Pride era. Like I never really used to watch Pride fights. I started with the Ultimate Fighter fights, the first season of Ultimate Fighter. That's what got me like into the sport and into watching it. But going back, and he was a champion when in the UFC. So to seeing that, like I didn't see him in his heydays or in his best days, but I did still see him as a champion. He had some amazing fights in the UFC with Dan Henderson, with Machida. I know he lost to John Jones, but to fight the GOAT, who a lot of people think is the GOAT, and to be in there with him, it was cool to see. So he's another one of those guys where I learned to like him. I went back, started watching his older fights, and stuff he did in those tournaments was beautiful. And Glover, just the nicest guy in the world, man. Every time I meet him, he's just so happy, so cool. I hate to see him lose, but to lose to Jamal Hill, I mean, I'd rather have it that way. But I'm just happy that he didn't get finished. I'm happy that he didn't get the towel thrown in and he went out on the shield. Like I know that he would want to.
And for him to have had that opportunity to realize his championship in his 40s, can't say enough about that. It all feels like gravy at this point. All right, now let's get to the meat on the fucking bone. Excuse me. What the fuck at 170, man? Like, dude, but I just want to say, like, I can't imagine all the conversations you must be having. And you can be sure I don't know a damn thing other than being a big fan of yours, wanting to see you fight. But like I can't imagine all the different things you're navigating. So how you handling all this? I know you're not going to break anything here, but how are you handling it? What's happening?
Honestly, man, it's been like the most like annoying, like stressful couple weeks ever. Because 3 weeks ago they were like, you're going to be doing tough against Colby, and it was like one of those things where I was on the phone, remember before we got here, and I was like,
yes.
On the phone, and then Cody's like, oh, I think he's fighting Colby, and I was like, I don't want to jinx anything yet, so I'm waiting for it, and I was like. They were like, yeah, you're going to do tough. So I was like, but don't say nothing yet. And I was like, okay, cool. So I'm hyped up. And I'm like, all right, can we talk about it on Joe Rogan? Because that'll hype it up even more. No, we can't say nothing yet. We got to sign it first. And I was like, all right, cool, whatever. So then you go and you're watching. You're just waiting for it to happen. And Gilbert goes out there. He wins. And then you see him call out Colby. You're like, bro. Obviously, we had the same manager. Obviously, he probably heard stuff through the ringers. And you're like, When I posted, I'm like, bro, he's trying to steal my fight. People were like, what do you mean he's trying to steal your fight, you loser? He called out, get Kobe first. I'm like, bro, we've been literally negotiating this stuff for like 3 weeks. So, yeah, I think it's considered like stealing it because you obviously heard that I was in the talks to do that. And you probably got like, hey, wait, I want to do that too. Like, why can't I do that? So it's one of those things that is annoying. But, like, I understand it, obviously, what the game is. Like, he doesn't owe me nothing. I don't owe him nothing. So it's whatever. But the fact that he's coming out now saying, oh, I got ducked by Belal and why is he ahead of me in the rankings? I'm like, bro, chill out. You beat Neil Magny. You're a 5-1 favorite in your country to beat a guy, and a guy that's terrible against grapplers, a guy that literally gives up whenever the fight hits the ground, and you're hyping it up like you did something amazing, outrageous. I'm like, that was an easy fight. That was the fight that it should have been. That's the fight that you basically got a layup. So don't sit there and tell me, oh, I need to skip him in the rankings. I'm sitting there and I beat my last 3 opponents. I was the underdog every single one of those fights. I was the guy that was supposed to lose every single one of those fights. And I beat number 5 twice. And then I went down and beat number 7 because I had to go down to number 7 because you didn't want to fight me when I beat Luque. So after I beat Luque, it was obviously the next step was number 4, which was Gilbert. And he didn't want to fight. He was waiting. He kept saying, no, Masvidal's going to fight me. I'm going to wait and see and hope for that one to come through. Never came through. So you ended up sitting out 6-7 months waiting for something that was never going to happen. So that put you in a spot where you had to fight number 11 and you got stuck with that. But now you were going to be all this talking on the internet. And I'm like, bro, I don't care what people say. I don't care what the narrative, people could sway the narrative, whatever it is. But who's the one going out there fighting the guys above? Who's the one actually going out there fighting the toughest guys? Neil Magny's number 11 or number 14. Congratulations. You beat number 14 in Brazil, and you finished them. And Neil Magny's one of those guys, like I said, he'll lose to anybody that has any level of grappling.
You know, I don't really even know where to begin on this stuff. And I think sometimes about your timetable, right? And when because part of me just thinks, all right, let everybody just figure this out. And Belal just will get the winner of the fight in London. How about that? Okay, everybody, you know what I mean? If you want to do all this, even though Belal wants to fight sooner, if you're going to make him wait, all right, Colby, but the idea that it's going to be some, I get Chimaev moving up or whatever. But the idea that you have Belal Muhammad, Colby Covington, and Gilbert, and it's going to be two of those three, and then that's going to be like a title eliminator. Well, all right. Well, I mean, there's just so much unknown out there. You know more than some. Gilbert knows more than some. The fact that you have the same manager, I can't even imagine, bro. I can't even imagine when your phone rings. You must just be like,
yeah, it's literally ridiculous because like you're expecting something and then it doesn't happen, and then you're like, bro, all right, so what's going on? But for the time being, now it's like just the waiting game because, like I said, they could tell you something, but nothing's happening until it's on paper, until it's in front of you, and it's you're just waiting for a contract. And yeah, like it's people are like, oh, well, that's the title eliminator between those three guys. If one of them, whoever it is, whoever fights each other out of those two, I'm like, bro, I'm the only one in the division on an 8-fight winning streak. I'm the only one in the division fighting top 10 guys and beating top 10 guys. Kobe hasn't been in a top 10 guy. Gilbert hasn't been in a top 10 guy. So I don't get where all this talk is. It's one of those three guys should be fighting for the title next. For me, I could sit there and be like, oh, I'm going to wait for the title shot, and it would be earned. But I'm sitting there like, give me Kobe. That's the guy that I wanted. That's the guy that I have on paper. That's the guy that makes the most sense. And that's the guy that I wanted to fight for years. So if they offer that fight, I'm going to take that fight. I'm not going to sit there and wait on the sidelines and pray that if Leon's coward self wins the fight, he's not going to sit there and be like, well, I want to fight Masvidal now because, I beat Usman. Like, I could just tell that's what a guy like him would do. But I'm going to have to go out there and I'm going to have to keep beating these guys. Like I said, if I had to go up rung by rung, Jamahal, they're saying, is moving up to 85. So I already marked that one out the window.
There you go.
Now it's just sights on Kobe. Jamahal should be out of the rankings. It should be Usman. I should be under Usman, honestly. And then Kobe should be under me. And then let's go. Me against Kobe.
Look, and both of them have had an opportunity to compete for the championship. You haven't lost in a very long time and have not had an opportunity to compete for a championship. And as you know, many guys get opportunities to compete for championships in different spots, whether it's Teixeira, Jamal Hill. Belal Muhammad deserves a shot. Let's move on to tough. And I do think, sort of back to you, I'd love to see you coach. I mean, what a great opportunity for you to coach a little bit. Those guys would benefit like crazy having you coach them.
Yeah, it would have been fun. Like I said, it would have been. It's one of those things where that's what got me into fighting is watching the first season Ultimate Fighter, and people could say that it died out. It's not cool or whatever, but still, I always love tough. You watched the earlier season of it. And I think that they need to like a refreshing, like coaches that actually want to coach and coaches that actually put energy into it. I know they're talking about McGregor doing it, and I'm looking at it like I understand it. Obviously, he's going to bring ratings. He's going to bring viewers. But then people are telling me, like, why would McGregor want to do it? And I was like, the dude has a movie coming out, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be trash. But you still need you're out of relevancy right now because you haven't been fighting. You haven't been in the cage, and nobody's seen you in a while. So being on TV will get you back in people's minds, get you on TV. Hey, my movie's coming out too. So I think that's the reason why he's doing it. I'm just interested to see who the coach is going to be opposite of him. Yeah,
I mean, hard for me to think anyone other than Michael Chandler. Who's going to be better than Michael Chandler opposite him? I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I think Chandler will be a guy that will bring that type of coach energy to the show, that fun energy to the show. And him and McGregor back and forth would be fun. So if they make that one, that'll be cool. But they haven't announced anything with it. I'm surprised. I know that they have to start filming soon. So I'm sure we'll hear something within the next couple of days.
So I'll close on this before hopefully Cody Merrow. We got some fans that want to ask Bully a question here or there. But in terms of the welterweight thing, just know I'm out here sort of wondering the same thing you're wondering. Obviously, you have more knowledge than me, but as you know, and your appearance on Joe Rogan, obviously you opened up to people and people got to sort of see a different side of you. You got to take some comfort in that, right? Everything's happening the way it's God's plan, right? And your mind, it's right. So even though this might be a frustrating time, I'm sure you're able to put it in the right compartment.
Yeah, I mean, it was hard. It was I'm sitting there freaking calling Jared Gordon and snapping. I'm like, bro, and having someone like him, like you said, he keeps reminding me the same thing. Like it's God's plan. You've been there before. You've been doubted how many times, and it just look where you are now. Like you said, being on a Joe Rogan show, you never thought you'd be on a Joe Rogan show, the biggest podcast in the world, second to ours. But it's right. Still a blessing every single day that I'm still able to do what I love. Be number 4 in the world. Be on the Joe Rogan podcast. So it's always cool. I just got to appreciate things and be grateful more. And like I said, I've been patient this long. I just got to be patient a little bit longer.